Hey, what's up, everybody? English Dave here with my co-hosts Raven, Rocket Mike, and Mercedes. What's up, everybody?
What's up?
We are here for our weekly Lovecraft Country discussion. We're here with episode 7, titled I Am. The synopsis is as follows. Hippolyta's relentless search for answers takes her on a multi-dimensional journey of self-discovery, and Atticus heads to St. Louis to consult an old family friend. This episode is fully focused on Hippolyta, something that we've been looking forward to for a long time. We had snippets of where we thought her journey was going to go. I mean, previous episode we'd seen trailers of her in like warrior outfits. We couldn't make any context of that. Finally got the context, not in any way that I expected. I'm going to start with you, Raven. Thoughts on the episode?
I absolutely loved this episode. I just felt like it was such a great way to show a story of personal growth and, you know, the story of someone who's kind of hidden or suppressed their true selves and the way in which they figured out how to come into their own. I think it was such a unique way of delivering that story. I was waiting for a episode with Hippolyta for a while now, you know, and I felt like this isn't exactly what I was expecting, but I'm very appreciative of it.
Yeah, Sadie's, we were talking before you logged on, we were talking about how this is like reminding us that the show is very much sci-fi. So what did you get from this episode?
I loved it. I felt like I was watching like an episode of The Twilight Zone when it changed into different stories each time.
Yeah.
But no, I totally loved it. It was such like female empowerment, but not in like the cheesy way that sometimes people do it. It was such a great story, like Raven was saying, about self-discovery. So it was a 10 out of 10 for me this week, as always. But I mean,
no, what I loved about this episode is that it was, like you said, a female empowerment story, but it wasn't one that does so by shitting on men. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You tend to get
right, and that's what I meant by like typical, because usually
right.
It's always like the other way, but it was very much showed love to like that growth, and I appreciated that.
And Mike, as the other guy in this group, how did you find the episode?
So I felt like it was almost 2 episodes, because you had the continuation of the stories with Ruby and Christina, and then Tick, Letty, and of course Antros. But then you had Hippolyta, who, and that was obviously, you know, that's when JJ just took over from there. He's like, I'm having 2 hands on the steering wheel with this one. But all of it had to do with understanding oneself and figuring out who, I guess, you were meant to be in this world or whatever kind of reality that we now know exists. But I'm blown away by the sci-fi that got involved. I'm like, this is too original for me. I have many questions, but I was here for all of it.
And again, yeah, the world of Lovecraft has always blended the supernatural with the horror with the sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we've been spoiled with more horror-centric stuff. Mm-hmm. Even though we've had sci-fi hints, but this is like full on, like we're going out there into the crazy sci-fi stratosphere.
It was maybe more magical stuff than sci-fi that we had before, but this was just pure like we're going to space.
Not just space, like out there. And I don't know if a lot of people, you know, we'll go into details later, but I'm not sure if a lot of people realized that it wasn't time travel, it was transdimensional travel. It was multi-dimension. It wasn't traveling through her own timeline. And some of the themes in this episode are of self-discovery and rediscovery. On top of that, and the power of names. You know, the names we give ourselves, the names that society give us, and how we label ourselves or how we're labeled. You know, the power of that. We're going to go into the episode itself. One good thing about this episode is that as much as it focuses on Hippolyta, it does give us information that furthers the story. And I think this is a good balance of giving individual character story, yet planting the seeds for the larger narrative at hand. This continues on from Ruby finding out more about Christina and William. And, you know, we find out more information about how the metamorphoses work, that William was a person. And so my theory was wrong. Christina and William are one and the same. But I didn't realize that Dog Lady had died. So I'm going to talk to you, Mike.
Yeah, I guess so.
We get more information, Mike, about the fact that William and Christina's relationship. You know, about that she was trained by him and things like that. What did you think about that moment?
So I didn't know when she said that they were lovers. I'm still thinking they were siblings. So I'm like, they got this Targaryen thing going on. They look like they could easily be it. So it's like, oh, you just love the person that you look like the most if you were the opposite gender. Cool. So I had a feeling that's where it was going. Yeah, it's like he was still wanted by the Order. He was still killed. The captain got what he wanted out of him or whatever. But with now understanding Christina a little bit better was something I can see happening. The fact that I was like, okay, that makes sense. No women in the Order. She was meant to do, at first, just impress her father, but now it was all about her. I'm like, what the fuck am I wasting my time with this guy for? I can do this way better than anyone else, which is also, again, this episode is very much all about like women's empowerment, and this was taking it in obviously a magical sense. Like, well, if you were given the opportunity, yeah, you do it for yourself, and you try to be as strong as you possibly could. And again, the theme of the episode.
I like that you mentioned that, she started getting into this to impress her father, then realized, fuck him. I could do way better than that. And I found it interesting when she mentions to Ruby, when Ruby says, I want to know everything. And Christina says it involves your family. Which family? Like, she's not part of Tick's family.
I know.
So
I'm like, I guess it's not Tick's relative that we're seeing in this dream that Tick had,
Right. It's just like, ooh, where does that
I was like, okay, so who is this? Who's too many questions. Okay.
Moving forward, Raven, we see the aftermath of what we found out before about Montrose and Sammy, but Tick finds out about what's going on with Montrose. It starts off, I love that scene. It starts off like a happy moment for Montrose and Sammy. Like, it's all happy, it's all good. They're having nice breakfast. Montrose is complaining about his grits. I don't like them running.
Yeah.
So I want to start off with you, Raven. Like, start off like the beginning scene, and then Tick coming in.
I think for me, it was definitely a crazy moment, because I think that the initial moment of, kind of Montrose coming into the room and kind of being accepting of the fact that another man is cooking him breakfast after a night that they've had together, I think that at first, you got to see that he was sort of okay with it. And then I think that as, the morning went on, which didn't take very long at all, the mood went from, this is something that I enjoy, to, oh, because I enjoy it, there's something wrong, and then the trauma kicks in, and then, societal rules kick in. And I think something as small as, how I like my grits is like, what? Like, so you expect this man to still fulfill the roles of your wife, while also not kissing this man in public, while also not acknowledging, this other person, but, behind closed doors, you want him to assume the role of wife, but also you're not okay with it at the same time,
The neighbor almost saw you. Ooh, like.
Exactly. Oh, wait, who saw it, and like, and the paranoia, it's like, oh, okay, so everything was cool when we were in secret and nobody knew, but now that, the neighbor might know that I'm cooking you breakfast, it's a wrap, But I think it was an interesting moment, because I think that it helps you to realize, like, that this is something that can't be fixed overnight. It took many, many years, and a very long time to get Montrose to the mindset that he is now. Many beatings, So I think that this moment was very evident of the fact that Montrose deems this is wrong, and that this is still something that's not okay with him and something he's still dealing with. And Sammy really didn't do much wrong. Like, granted, serving somebody pork that doesn't eat pork. But beyond that, it's like Sammy really didn't do anything. So I did love the moment of showing that, like, this is something that isn't going to be fixed in the span of a night and a dance. But also, following that, I think Sammy's response to that conversation, because I was proud of Sammy. I was like, yeah, stand up for yourself. This man really treats you like shit. But, then for Sammy to walk out and then walk out into his son, I think was like, ooh, instantly, because you do side with Sammy, and you're like, yeah, walk out. And then he is seen, which is the exact thing Montrose didn't want. So I think that, that whole moment, and then, walking out, and then Tick's reaction to dropping the F-bomb, that was hard. I think even for me, like, hearing that was really tough, and Tick's realization that, like, my dad was beating me all this time because, like, he had a problem with himself, And I think for every kid, that's a tough thing to have to go through when you realize that, you know, your parents were really hard on you about something very specific because of their past, you know, and their own traumas, you know, and it really had nothing to do with you. I think that's a tough thing for anybody to deal with, but especially Tick at that time, you know, being a soldier, going out of his way to be this, you know, masculine man that we see now, you know, to prove to his dad he was strong. Just to see his dad in a vulnerable state, I think was really heart-wrenching.
Tick's reaction was interesting because, you know, he's the hero. He's one of the heroes of our story, right? And what this story continues to do is, you know, as bad as it is, Tick isn't a man of 2020. It's hard to kind of accept the reality that him saying words like that then was normalized, and that's showing the reality of it. That as good, and I'm using air quotes for those listening, person as he was, he would say things like that in that situation. But then what I like about that scene is that as it plays out, his anger isn't about finding out that his dad was gay. His anger is like, you beat me and you said I was soft. You know, you beat me to not be a soft.
Exactly.
You beat me for this. And you were angry, like you said, Raven, you're angry at yourself and you beat me for it. That's where Tick's real anger is coming from. And I liked how that's kind of framed on it. And you almost...
Like, Tick would have never ended up in the war had it not been for his dad's issues with himself. You know, which must be tough to deal with, is like knowing that you're out here shooting people. You know, Tick was literally murdering innocent people, you know, in cold blood to escape his father, just to end up finding out that your dad was really trying to escape himself, and it never had anything to do with you personally, and there was never anything you could have really even done to change what happened. You know, no matter how masculine Tick could have ever been, his dad would have still been, you know, gay or, you know, on some type of, you know, fluid spectrum. So it's kind of just like, from there, it must be tough, you know. And I think that, yeah, even though he dropped the F-bomb, you definitely side with him in the moment of like, yeah, I get it though. I would be pissed too.
When he says the fucked up part is I told myself it's because he cared about me. You know, it's just like,
that one hit low.
You know, like, damn. And again, we talked about this before, generational trauma. You know, Montrez's dad beat him for the same reasons that Montrez is beating Tick. You know, like, you know, what kind of future dad does Tick make? Which I'm going out to you to say these little hint there. Letty decides to stay behind and make amends with Ruby. Letty is, Ruby is helping babysit while Hippolyta has left. We'll go into that later. But I like this moment. What do you think of that moment of Ruby and Letty kind of coming together? I like that it wasn't this drawn out argument between sisters. You know, they dealt with the situation.
Right. I think that it was important that there wasn't this whole like big drama blow up. We have that in the previous episode. So at this point, I think the show creators and fans, like, we all wanted them to come together. We wanted the sisters back together on the same side because we obviously know that shit's about to pop off too. So we want it, you know, we want the sisters to be together on a unified front. So I love that scene. And I think it was also nice that it was a real scene too. So like, Letty apologizes and Ruby does accept her apology, but in a way that only a sister can. And she tells her like, you know, me and Mama aren't exactly alike. And that is something that, you know, to the outside, they'd be like, you could just say like, I accept the apology, but that is something to Letty that's huge because it's her biggest fear to become her mother and to have her sister, you know, validate that feeling that she's not becoming her mother and, you know, that she is, you know, that there is still love there and the relationship can be fixed. That was super important. And then, yeah, so it was like awesome that the sisters got to be back together and the love's there. And
they have a moment. Preg is little Mr. Junior, Mr. Fix-It. You know,
yes.
I had a moment though. This is my nerd brain. When Letty reacted to the garlic, I was like, vampire! Because she's died before.
She's got a vampire baby in her stomach.
I wasn't even thinking of her having a baby. I just thought she was a vampire.
No, I instantly, like, from the dream, I instantly was like, oh my god, Letty's pregnant.
Yeah,
like, I was just running with it throughout the entire episode. From the jump, I was like, she's pregnant. She's pregnant.
I didn't know
that
was a thing.
And then especially when it was like garlic, I was like, "Ooh, she's super pregnant."
I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh,
my wife had to tell me. My wife had to tell me that that's a thing. So I was like, "Oh,
it's because you guys are dudes."
You don't have a vagina.
Every woman knows like certain things like to look out for. Because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like most women have been paranoid about a scare at some point in their life. So any type of, you know, you learn the signs. You're like, wait, what is? Oh no. I'm sensitive to smell.
Yeah, reacting sensitively to like things that you normally would like love, and you're like, bleh! Like that's like, dude, you're pregnant.
Yeah, that's like one of like the number one signs you're probably
Nerdy Bunch
pregnant.
educating you on pregnancy as well.
Yeah, right now, if you're sniffing something in the background,
we got
your
you.
leftover pizza, and it's aggravating you.
A lot of boyfriends and husbands like sniff this garlic. I want to make sure you're.
They're like, you know what? That food I have sitting on my table is irritating.
Oh man.
Where was I? Letty finds out that Hippolyta had the orrery. And
Yes,
she's
she
like,
does.
oh snap!
It's about time somebody found
Right.
out. It's been like
She-
3 episodes.
She just had it. Well, they knew it was gone. They didn't know who had it, and then she finds it in Hippolyta because they're in Hippolyta's house, and she calls Tick and lets Tick know.
She didn't even try to hide it.
And let's Tick note.
Yeah, I stole it.
What I find
What's
interesting in
up?
that moment is that when she talks to Tick, Ruby's listening in, and earlier on, Ruby asked Christina, "Tell me everything." So it's like, how much does
Exactly.
Ruby know about what's going on?
So I think Ruby knows everything that's going on, and I think that's why
I think Ruby knows.
we didn't get a full reconciliation between the
gonna
two
be
of them,
bad.
because I don't know if Ruby is on the same side just
Yeah,
yet.
I feel like it could be bad.
I-
That's why they're making them
Recruiting her.
friends now. It's
Yeah.
they're like
Frenemies. That's
right?
the thing.
They're setting us up. Well, the reason why it takes away, we spoke about it, we mentioned it earlier, is that he's going to find out more about his family, with the book of names, because of Letty's dream. It's funny how Tick didn't see the book in his dreams. Like, we all saw the book. Like,
I don't know. I saw the book. Like, what's wrong with you?
Distracted
Pay
by being
attention.
caught on fire, maybe.
Pay attention.
I know, when he
Come
said
on.
that,
I
I
don't
was
care
like-
if you're on fire.
You wait, so you're saying
I was like, there was a book in like 3 out of 3 dreams. What's wrong
you
with
only
it?
saw her moving her lips the entire time. You never saw the book.
the carrying the book, the whole book.
And even that, I had to rewind it to catch her lips moving.
Right.
How'd you miss the
The
book?
most obvious thing to me.
I saw the book first. Like, what?
Tick's finding out more information from one of his cousins' friends, and I love the scene where she's showing him the picture, goes away, comes back and catches him with his shirt off. Like, what is she thinking is going on right now? Like, why are you taking your shirt off? Like, for us, we understand that he's looking at the same birthmark, which is obviously some kind of significance, but she doesn't know that. She just saw his shirt is off, and she's
Yeah,
like,
I'm also like, you don't have that
Yeah,
thing
that would have
memorized by
made me
now?
feel away.
You haven't looked at it enough?
I'd be like, are you my cousin? Or are you just some stranger rapist?
I'm surprised that scene, because I feel like that scene didn't give much. It was a very short moment at her house, and then Letty calls and like, all right, peace, I gotta go.
I feel like she knows something. I
there's
definitely
more.
feel like she knows more than she's letting on.
Interesting.
For
Absolutely.
sure.
That could be true. Well,
You
I guess we'll
know,
find out. We'll see if there's any more information to do with that. We know that, as far as we know, the book was quote unquote burnt during the Tulsa riots. That's the ongoing story. We're still searching to see if the book is.
I'd tell that story too.
It's all gone. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Like earlier in the episode, Hippolyta had figured out the orrery. It was to do with tilt of the earth. You know, you have to tilt the axis and all that stuff. She arrives at this location. I think it was a observatory, right? Yeah, that's what I think it was.
Yeah.
And this is the fringe moment. The machine. She uses math. She has the what's that movie?
Beautiful mind.
Super mad, like
No,
super
not even
mad
Beautiful Mind.
I
magician.
know. I'm like, okay, she's a super genius now.
It reminded me
apparently.
of The Hangover. That
Yeah,
moment
with
in
a hangover, with all the equations
Yeah.
just going in mind. I'm like, are we really doing this? Oh, we're doing it.
You know that meme with the
Yes,
lady that's like
she's
looking at
My favorite. That's like one of my top memes. That one and the white guy that's always confused, like, what?
Yeah, I send that meme all the time. It's my favorite.
It reminded me.
That was Hippolyta's one.
For some reason, I was thinking also of Hidden Figures. Just this mathematician or computer kind of character. It had me thinking of that. But Mike, you know, when the that whole sequence, right? She's there. The cops arrive. The portal opens. Tick happens. Like all this shit's going on. What's going through your mind?
First, okay, I don't know if you caught this. There was this weird edit, and we're going to talk right when Tick came in. You know, I understand, like, you know, tensions were high. You know, 2 cops are in there, but there was this weird, like, lag. I felt like when Tick ran in, kind of sloppily.
He lunges.
He like lunged, but there was so much time in between that it reminded me of the scene from Fun with Dick and Jane, and Jim Carrey's going to shake Alec Baldwin's hand from like way across the room, but he has his hand outstretched for like 5, 6, 10, 20 steps, you know, until he finally shakes a hand. That's what it felt like. It felt like he just lunged and he's just constantly going and going and finally hits him. But after that was done, it did remind me of the Doctor Strange like window time portal where you could just turn the knob, but it was like stuck, and so it was constantly changing channels. And so that
was a cool
up.
effect.
I love that.
That was so cool. All of the VFX have been so good.
Were you guys feeling some kind of way when it's like Hippolyta killed the cop? You're like, oh no. As soon as she shoots him, I was just like,
only because she's black. I was
exactly.
like,
no, completely.
I was stressed. I was like, oh, you're not gonna get away with self-defense. You're not gonna get away with anything. You're gonna get the electric chair.
Right, we're suddenly pulled. This is where the whole tone just changes, right? We get pulled into space, into another planet. Robots come, and then Afro Lady robot, who's credited as I got the name here, Serafina, aka Beyond Cest. Do you get it? Beyonce.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
She definitely came through like Beyonce with that fro. I couldn't. I was like, this too much.
Sadie's, I know you watch Steven Universe.
That's like, what it was. I was like,
Garnet.
this is very much
Garnet.
Totally.
Exact look with the afro and everything. But Raven, that whole sequence, just waking up in a white room and just that whole like sci-fi-ness of it. What did you think?
For me, that was a really crazy scene because I feel like once again this show just shows you that like you're never comfortable, you're never safe. Like every time that you think that you figured the show out and you think you know where you're going and where this is headed, it's just like, and we're out of space. So yeah, I think that, once again, I kind of got uncomfortable thinking that I knew what was going on in this show, and this moment ripped me out of it instantly. But I love deep sci-fi. So for me, it's like the further we go, the better this show is. The more and more they're like, the more and more I have to go, what the fuck, the better this show is. And this is a very true what the fuck moment. I feel like having, Beyonce, pop up. And, instantly I was like, oh my God, the fro, everything, the outfit, the attitude. I was like, oh, I'm so with this. I instantly felt empowered. I was like, this is every superhero I ever wanted to be. And I love that this whole episode because I think, for all of us, we've all been asking, when are we going to find out more about Hippolyta? Especially with them hinting at the orrery and certain things. I've been waiting for this moment of like, okay, why is she so special? Specifically with this orrery. So, I did love just the whole discovery of self. I felt like it was a beautiful moment just as a black female watching another black woman find out the truth of themselves, without having to read it in a book and find out somebody's interpretation of it.
And, the scene follows on with Serafina, aka Beyonce. Asks her, who she wants to be. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I want to be dancing in Paris with Josephine Baker. Just kind of throws it out there as a random fuck it, I'm just going to say it. Imagine saying something like that, Sadie's, and then just being transported to that place in time.
Being like, I want to be in the director's chair next to Christopher Nolan. And then Ben being like, so this is Tenet. And I'm being like, what?
He's like, pass me the blah, blah, blah. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Yeah.
They're like, yo, you want to be first AC to Roger Deakins? I'm like, yes, what? Sitting there, dude's like running along 1917. It's great.
He's like, what the fuck am I doing? Trying to keep up with everything, catch up in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Getting yelled at, just completely breaking the set. People are tripping and falling everywhere.
Get out of the scene!
Especially in a one cut thing, everyone is just going down.
And because you just jumped in there, you have no idea.
Me not being able to pull focus, I'm completely confused.
You're like, what? You're using old school cameras. But yeah,
exactly, dudes are just running, not getting it caught.
I did love that scene because she's thrown in the middle of a dance act. Like, she has to kind of catch up to the act.
Yeah, that's what you asked for. You want to be on stage.
Here you go. Get them.
What do you think
out.
happens on stage?
She's like, I'm not during like rehearsal, not like actually on stage and showing the titties. What?
Right. Seriously. And she spends some time out there, with Josephine Baker in that version of Paris. And that's the beginning of her change. And that's when she talks about what Raven said about the lynching. But she's also mad at herself, at the fact that she's realized she's seeing a freedom. And that's the thing. I think it's a big thing for African Americans. I'm not African American myself. And, African Americans, you can, because of the nature of how things are in America, you can get to a point where you're told this view of how you're looked at is how the whole world looks at you. This is how exactly the whole world. So she got a taste of a different kind of freedom out, and realizing, whoa, what the fuck? This is what it's like, when I get to have some aspect of freedom. I thought I had freedom, and realizing that I didn't actually have freedom before. I didn't get a chance to be free. You see her smoking weed. You see her probably assuming she tried various aspects of sexuality, things like that. She's really being free in this moment.
Yeah, she's like flirting with other females. I'm like, yes, girl, get your life. Mm-hmm. Literally, get your life. This is amazing.
Right. But then that's when she says, she is Hippolyta, talking about the warrior. And this when she's pulled into battle.
Which I'm happy that the reference finally happened. Like, I've been waiting for it. Like, okay, but why did you name her Hippolyta? She could have been named anything in the world. So you have to bring up, the Amazonian queen, myth that is Hippolyta. So I'm glad that it was finally addressed.
But in this instance, she was brought into what's known as the Dahomey Amazons. These are African-based women who the Dora Milaje in Black Panther were based on. I've always said that if I was to do a Wonder Woman movie, I'd make her black and make Amazonians black. I think it would add a bit more gravitas to it.
Maybe Misha Green felt the same way, and she was like, "This is my episode, y'all. I'm doing it."
And I want to talk to you, Raven, about this, right? What I love about this sequence is that what I don't like about certain stories is when they want to make a character, male or female, tough, and they're just like, here you go, you're suddenly tough. She had to learn to be tough. Okay, she goes through a training. Again, she spends a period of time here. What did you think of that whole training sequence? And then we get that crazy battle against Confederates. Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like as a sci-fi nerd, the second that you hear any type of utterance of time travel, like a part of you gets really giddy inside. And yeah, I think that, we see the whole training sequence. I feel like we understand, and it felt like it was enough of an amount of time that went by to where you could understand how Hippolyta could be a strong warrior now physically, beyond just her mind, and I think that the journey, just her training and who she became, and even in the beginning with her saying to Josephine Baker, like, I just want to kill white folks, the next scene we see her, this is what she ended up doing, now she gets to get this out of her system. So it's kind of like, I do like the journey of like, a lot of it is be careful what you wish for, because it's like, okay, I want to be on stage with Josephine Baker. You're on stage. This is what you got. What do you want now? I just want to kill white folks. Okay, well, now you killed white folks. Now what? And I love that the realization that she has is like, okay, I am all of these things, but who am I with all of these things being true? Mm-hmm. And I think that, I love the speech she gives, which I sadly didn't write down the quote, but it's like on in the background.
I have it.
Yeah, do you want to say it?
I wrote it down. We're here because we did not believe them when they told us our rage was not ladylike. We did not believe them when they said our violence goes too far. We did not believe them when they said the hatred that we feel for our enemies is not godlike. They say that to women like us because they know what will happen when we are free.
Oh, so good.
Love that.
Like, I felt inspired. I was like, hell yeah, I'm out there. But the only thing I will say that I did think about, like, yeah, you could be strong and bold because you know that you're about to get beamed up once they come through. Like, these other 14 women behind you are, like, dead in real life.
Right,
like,
you saw the horde. You saw the horde coming from behind.
That would be tight if, like, my leader
Good night,
gave us
Heimdall.
the speech and then she
Let's
just
go.
beamed the fuck
yeah,
out.
she just zapped. Like,
just left me here. Wait,
as I'm dying out slowly, has anyone seen Hippolyta? No. What?
Though I would say Anjanae Ellis looked great as a warrior. Like, I think they did a good job of, like, because I didn't, it's one of those things where it's like we only see her dressed up as a mom, type look. And then
I will say though, I was like, damn. Like, even though she's just got like a older black woman body, I was into it.
But it also tells you that, one thing that a lot of film and TV, they always go for certain type of visual types for certain type of characters. And what I like about this episode, you have Anjanae Ellis, someone who never cast as a warrior, right?
Yeah.
And you'd never expect to cast someone that kind of as a warrior. And then showing that, no, she can look good as a warrior. Just like any actor, you put them in a costume, give them the training, they can do it. Just give them a chance. And that's almost what the episode is about, giving people a chance.
I love that because it restrates with you. Yeah, it feels like...
Point.
Yeah, it feels like that could be our aunt, mom,
right?
Anyone's, strong female protagonist in their life, I love that. And I feel like I think that's one of the best things about this episode is like every, female is a warrior in their own way.
Right. Especially because, like, in some, even just the way the women look, something that bothers me in some narratives is when they have female warriors who still look like Victoria's Secret models in terms of body.
Yeah, they look like male sex objects. Like,
it's like warriors should look like all types, right? A warrior shouldn't just be one type. I'm not saying someone like...
Or their outfits should be functional.
Like right?
That's all I ask. Just for a functional wardrobe. Maybe some, armor.
Because, like, with the men, when you see male movies and warriors, they don't all look like Brad Pitt. Like you have warrior men look like all types, like so. Yeah. Women warrior.
They look like me, who got pushed into the army. I'm like, I don't want to fight.
And they also have like layers of armor. Yeah, right. But the women, it's like put her out there in some panties, some leggings, and some combat boots, and it's fine. And boob helmets. A crop top. She's
boob
good.
Helmets. Like helmets for
boob helmets. Yeah, that's the only thing. Like, cover the tits, protect those. Your stomach, actual chest, all that stuff. Face, you're good. Just run out there.
It's never protection. It's just so that we can see boobs. Because you can protect the chest without.
No, it's more so to accentuate.
It could still be one piece. It doesn't have to be.
It's more so to accentuate the unsafe tits.
This is when she shouts out, "I am Hippolyta, George's wife." Even the nuance of her acting, the way she would say the same words, but with different nuances. Like, "I'm Hippolyta, warrior. I am Hippolyta, George's wife," calmly, and then we're taken back to the scene on her last scene with George, when they were in bed, the last moment they had together, and I love that moment. It also shows, obviously this is, for those who are caught up, this is parallel dimension George. This is not her George that died. This is an alternate dimension George.
Right.
And I love that she explains certain things to him, and he kind of also like goes along. It's like, oh, okay, so am I real? Is this real? And I love that moment when he says to her, you still named yourself my wife. And then she has a moment of like...
I love that whole moment because a part of you is like, ooh, you shouldn't have said that, man. She ain't realized she's out now. You've lost her.
But I love how that plays out because he, when she says, you also kind of helped me shrink, he starts to argue, then he stops, catches himself and says, I'm sorry. And I love that moment because, again, and I said earlier this podcast, this isn't a story that says female empowerment can only happen when you shit on men. Like, this isn't that story. He still can be a good man. He might have kind of been misguided and he kind of missed the signs that she wanted more. But he's still a good man. And he's going to catch himself when she points that out. He's not going to argue and be like, you know what? I'm sorry. I apologize. And I love that. And he's like, I see you now. And that's when she's like, I am the discoverer. And I love that she took him to the, on her journey. Did you guys notice the spaceship looked like the car? Did you notice
that? It's Woody's spaceship.
Yeah, it is Woody. And they looked like...
It's Woody Transformer.
Right? Did you guys notice that the costumes they were wearing were just like Dee's comic book?
So she was Orinthia Blue.
Yeah, Orinthia Blue.
I was wondering why it looked kind of like
I didn't get to go back.
Sci-fi film,
Yeah. I didn't get to go back, but
I can't.
Uncle George looked the way he did in the comics. I didn't get to go back and cross reference.
Yeah, he just just wearing the costume.
Was that the way that he looked when she drew him in her comics? Okay.
I think so. In terms of the spacesuits were the same.
The spacesuits.
Yeah, the spacesuits they're wearing. And I love that. And you go to a different planet, exploring, discovering, and with the little alien creatures. Mike, the end of the episode ends with Tick coming out of the portal. Some of us who saw the episode only once the first time didn't realize he'd been pulled into the portal. Because, they trick us because Hippolyta has that meeting with the Beyonce, and she's asked if she wants to stay or go back, and she decides to go back because of Dee, and she needs her mother. And so we're thinking we're gonna cut to her coming back out, and it's Tick coming back out, and he's holding a book, Lovecraft Country, written by George Freeman. What? And did you guys catch the tagline?
That was crazy.
Journey into worlds within worlds within worlds.
I didn't see that.
I didn't catch that part. I only saw Lovecraft Country, George Freeman, and I was like, what's happening? Yeah. It was too much. I literally felt like my brain was starting to leak out of my ears slowly.
So Mike, that whole ending sequence, right? A lot happens. That happens. Tick quickly tries to shut down the machine. The police are coming. He runs, and then we close in on Dee's book there. So that whole end sequence, we've already had a lot. How did it make you feel to end it like that?
It reminded me of the ending of Back to the Future.
Oh,
where he's
okay.
when he picks up his father's books written by him in the same outfit that he scared him in when he was a teenager. It was like everything's coming back full circle. That was a very like, I don't know if that was on purpose or a wink, but if it was unintended, it was still brilliant. But then, of course, now so many questions. Where the fuck did he go? Are we gonna find out? Tune in next week, and maybe we'll find out.
But it's just like. And just like seeing Dee's book, just me, I was like, no, like, God damn it, this is a police is dead, and there's a book.
Instantly, I'm just like, oh, come on, destroy all of the evidence, all of it. Don't run anywhere. Stop. Dispose of evidence, then run. Because if you run and then you get caught, then you got that body and that book to worry about. But if you dispose of everything and then they catch you and there's just blood on the floor, you don't have to explain that as much. You know?
We don't know what
it wouldn't be a TV show.
But we also don't know what Tick experienced,
so
because he could experience some shit that when he comes out, the last thing he's thinking about is the dead bodies, because he's seen some worse shit.
it had to have been. He has a whole book written by his dead, uncle
but
now.
Uncle George is written there. So like, but did he meet an alternate version? Just like Hippolyta met an alternate Uncle George, did Tick meet alternate Uncle George?
Like, did Tick get to name what he wanted, or did he just get circumstance? Like,
what happened?
Was it just whatever they had laying around? This is the simulation we have left over.
And I noticed in my second viewing, the piece of paper, the cover of the comic that's left behind, Hippolyta had used the other side to work out her equations. So now she's left the equations for the guys to have, right? Because I don't know how much.
I thought Tick grabbed it. I thought Tick grabbed her book.
No,
I know he had his own.
No, I'm saying is that cover that was covered in blood, but that Hippolyta was using the other side to write equations on.
Okay.
When she had that moment, she was using that. So I'm saying is,
they know.
The Sons of Adam, how much had they deciphered of it, or did she just do their work for them?
Oh, right? I think she did a shit ton of work for them.
Right.
I mean, she's a black woman. Come on.
So it's like they. And
therein
I think
lies.
they assume
they can't do anything with it because he took the key. So now that they have the equation to get it to work, now they got to figure out they're just going to hunt him down for the key now. So they still can't use it.
It's like an endless circle. It's like we're looking for the book, and then this one needs the key, and then like one of them will always have something. They're always just going to keep intertwining.
It's interesting that Christina, and I'm assuming all these guys of the various lodges assume it's a time machine, not a dimensional machine. You know, because Christina says time machine. You know, but then we find out no, you don't go back because they're trying to go to the Sons of Adam are trying to go to Eden and something like that.
It is kind of a time machine though,
but it doesn't go within your own timeline.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it's like
but
a
it is
timeline.
different time.
Yeah, it's a timeline to another dimension. So you can't change your history
depending on how you want to label it. You know?
Yeah. So it's like, and it's like what kind of like it goes into alternate timelines where Confederacy were fighting in Africa for some reason. You know, like so it's like what kind of time are you trying to find? You know, what's the world like?
I was trying to figure that out. I read that in the history books.
But that's what made me realize it was interdimensional time travel. Like I read it down somewhere.
I was going to say that. I was like, if you following endgame logics here, you're not going back to your past. You're going back to an alternate past that does reflect the one you currently have, but you can't actually change.
You can't go back to your past.
But I think this takes it a step further from the Back to the Future and Endgame theory, where it's like, because with those, it's like you're creating worlds that's similar to yours. Where this one, it's like completely different worlds can exist. It doesn't have to be similar. It could be similar.
It is wildly different.
Yeah, wildly. I was researching the coordinates we'd always see, and I found that the coordinates refer to dimension, world, location, and time. So you have to go to dimension, then go into another world within. So it's like there's so many layers of it. And someone actually mapped it out. It's on Reddit. You can search for it somewhere.
Yeah, you have to go to a time, place, and like location.
Yeah, it's a whole kind of difference.
Which is like weird.
So they've been there. Okay.
It's like a 3-layered. Like I saw some YouTube video on it.
It's a whole kind of crazy thought.
Which
I want to see where they go with it.
But that's it. That's all I got.
But outside of that, other leftover questions we have, Letty's dream. You know, we're pretty sure that she's pregnant, but we haven't officially confirmed
Letty's
it.
Pregnant for sure.
Pregnant. Where is the Book of Names?
I don't know if she's gonna keep it, or I don't know if it'll come to term, but she's definitely pregnant right now. Right. In her universe.
Where's the Book of Names? We're told it got burnt in Tulsa, but I'm sure that's not the case. So we're going to find that out. Where did Tick go in the other dimension? What's his story like? How much did Christina tell Ruby? Is Ruby keeping secrets? And what are the plans for the machine from the get-go? What are those plans? We don't know. We shall find out. But before we close, Mercedes, what were the cultural references on this episode?
Not too many this week. For songs, we had, during the battle scene, it was Fire by Mother's Finest. And then
which is great, by the way. Sorry, but I just thought that was really great.
That was such an awesome scene.
Right.
And then this week, we don't really have books or movies per se, but we definitely have the poem from the 1974 film Space is the Place from jazz multi-instrumentalist Sun Ra. And then people were big this week. There were a few little Easter eggs that were dropped in the episode. I'm not sure if any of you nerdy birds saw them. If you did, tell us in the comments. But the three that I had were Bessie Stringfield, Frida Kahlo, and of course, we talked about her, Josephine Baker.
Yeah,
can I tell you, the Bessie Stringfield cameo, at first I was like, who the fuck is that? That's such a random thing, woman on a motorbike. Like, who is that? I was just like, who's this motorbike? So I researched it, and I didn't know, like, she was someone who as a black woman rode Harley Davidson across the country. She was the first black woman to do that, breaking barriers for riders and women alike. And I thought, that's an interesting little... This show continues to educate us without educating us. It's like,
every week.
Here's the breadcrumbs.
And it
figure
just
out yourself.
throws, sprinkles something in the background. Here you go. You can follow
and
the breadcrumbs and figure out your history.
Right? And even the Frida Kahlo one, it's like a blink and you miss it cameo because it's not explicitly said.
Totally.
And he's like, oh, shit.
No, not at all. But the second you see the unibrow lady in the suit, you're like, come on.
He's like, oh, I think that's Frida. Right? He's like, I think it's her. He's like, it must be.
Yeah.
It's
also sad. Was it this episode in the beginning where they said, when is Bobo going to be back from his trip? I was
that was mentioned. He's like, he's good at this game.
We knew it was happening at some point in the year of this
we don't
show.
know. What we don't know, we can assume we know what's happening. We don't know is the show going to follow in the real life footsteps, or is it going to try and change things? With this show, you don't know.
I hope so.
What dimension are we in now?
Right? Which dimension is
exactly.
it going to be? I don't think things will turn out differently for Boba. I think this is just a narrative that's happening in the background that's going to be there. It's building up our sadness for it. But
I think
we
it's
have
raising
2 episodes
awareness,
left of the season.
like slowly.
3 can happen. 3? Oh yes, there is
3.
Yes,
there are 3 episodes left.
3
there
left.
are.
So, sorry, Raven, what'd you say?
Is it 3? Thank you. Because all right, 2 wasn't enough. I was stressed. 2
You want 3 episodes. On that note, looking forward to more episodes. What do you guys think of this episode? Let us know on social media at The Nerdie Bunch. We'd like to hear your thoughts. If you're not following us on all social media, follow us at The Nerdie Bunch. I'm trying to get these guys to do more tweeting, especially on Twitter, as we go along. Stay tuned for more of our podcast. We're going into Halloween season, so we're going to be doing more horror movie reviews with Back to the Feature and our regular reviews, so look out for all of those. Thank you, Rocket Mike.
As always, thank you.
Thank you, Raven.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mercedes.
Thank you, Dave.
My name is English Dave, and this has been a review for Lovecraft Country Episode 7. I am. And as always, Mercedes.
Keep it nerdy.
Keep it nerdy, guys.